Hello, this is the podcast host version of George checking in one last time for the Patreon bonus intro. If you're hearing this, it's because Best Little Horror House in Philly has ended, and I'm releasing the Patreon bonus episodes into the wild. These episodes only exist thanks to the very generous support of some listeners over the years, and I encourage you all to consider supporting an independent podcast this way, or independent art in general. As I mentioned, these episodes are coming from all over the podcast timeline. You'll hear the old intro sometimes, which is kind of a yardstick, but generally I am mentioning this because it means that they will have varying levels of audio quality. As I got better at hosting, so too did the technical aspects. While I certainly wish all the episodes were of the same standard that it reached near the end, I can't go back in time, and I felt it was better to release them this way than not at all, so I hope you enjoy. Hi everybody, I'm George, and welcome to another Spotlight episode of the Best Little Horror House in Philly, where we're joined by returning guest, Taylor Moore. Welcome back, Taylor.
Hail the returning conquering heroes! Don't mind if I do.
So today we're talking about Basket Case 3, about as far in the opposite direction as you can go from your pick for the main feed kill list. So I'm very curious to hear just about your experience with Frank Henenlotter and his style of filmmaking.
All right, so what happened was, it's 1993. I'm at a friend's house, and they had just moved houses, and so they had gotten, it used to be, did I already talk about this on the show? It used to be that when you moved houses, back in the day when there was no internet, there was only cable, when you moved houses and had to get a new cable package or local cable company, whatever, for the first 30 days, they would give you all the premium channels for free.
Right.
And so we were over at my friend Jim's house, and he had like Cinemax and Showtime and HBO. And we were staying at way much later than we should have, and so, on some channel somewhere in the deep cable and the all that stuff was a movie, and it was this really weird looking movie. It was a guy and a girl on a bed, and we were all like, "Oh, this is it! This is the here come the boobs!" Like, it looks like a softcore porn movie. It looks like a USA Up All Night, which used to be a whole like 6-hour block of soft pornography movies they would show on the USA Network in the 90s. We're like, oh, here we go. We've stayed up late. We found the good stuff. And then the guy and the girl are talking. And then a horrible monster erupts out of the girl's stomach / vagina. And it left such an indelible mark on me. So much of my early cinema moments have to do with like getting access to premium cable without adult supervision.
Hell yeah.
That's where I first saw, like, I snuck downstairs and accidentally watched the last 10 minutes of Cronenberg's The Fly, which I think really like set my life on a very particular course. And then at a friend's sleepover, we all watched this horrible monster erupt out of this woman's stomach. And then she holds its head and pushes it back in. And I never found, not never, we had no idea what was going on. We didn't know what it was. All we did, we were amazed by it and disgusted, turned it off, did other stuff or whatever. Years later, that scene stuck with me completely. I found out that it was in the third act of Basket Case 2. And so that meant I had to watch all the Basket Case movies, and I did. And that is how I first came to see Mr. Henenlotter's work, and especially Basket Case 3.
That is kind of a bygone era, or something from that era that I kind of miss, where it was like, things had a mystery to them because you couldn't just go online and be like, hey, does anyone remember this scene? And then somebody from the darkest side of Twitter comes out and says, actually, yes, I do remember that. Here's what it's from. This was like, you'd go talk to your friends and be like, I saw the craziest shit on TV last night, and I have no idea what it was. All I can do is describe it to you, and that description just lives on its own, kind of, in a way.
Henenlotter's movies are perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
They are like a lot of us when we were kids, there was not enough programming. There was not enough, there were whole channels for children, but there was not enough programming. So they would just license all the weird French Canadian kids programming for America. But it was weird to us. So a lot of my friends and I's early memories of seeing weird shit on TV can be traced back to this weird non-commercial animation that came from the Canadian Film Board being played on like Nickelodeon on Saturday at noon, or like British programming, But this is like staying up late at a friend's sleepover and seeing the weirdest shit you've ever seen on someone's dad's Cinemax account. Rules. It's the best way to fuck up and make good adults. I think we should. But I think kids still get it nowadays because you can someone will find a video on a forum or something, show it to everybody, and then you can't find it again. I think kids today still get the, I saw a spooky TikTok or I saw a weird video and I couldn't quite, couldn't download it. And so it remains this sort of ephemeral media experience that puts you on a horror podcast 30 years later.
Just on different platforms. Yeah, that makes sense. I also am a big Frank Henenlotter fan. Him and Larry Cohen are really just the Argonath of New York sleaze that I just love. I think it's so great. Not to say that Larry Cohen in particular didn't have anything to say, but they
give me money,
right? But
was what Larry Cohen had to say.
Definitely, I think that they have a lot of fun. There's a lot of joyous emotion, I think, packed into their films that doesn't always come across when someone is taking it more seriously and they're like, oh, I need to make this art. I need to make this something serious so that people will take it and me seriously. Frank said that he never even wanted to be a filmmaker. He just loved tinkering around with making his own, and they weren't meant to be seen. There was one of his first ones was a fake sexploitation film called Slash of the Knife about the horrors of being uncircumcised. And so he's like, you can see I wasn't doing it for commercial success.
I do not know anything about this filmmaker. All I know is that I love the Basket Case movies, especially 2 and 3, very much. What is this guy's deal?
So he's from Long Island originally, and he made these little nothing movies. It was before even Super 8. He was talking about how it was regular 8mm film that he had to thread into the camera manually and everything. But that the original Basket Case came out and it was it was cut to pieces, basically. And so he had to sort of build this cult reputation from the word go, in addition to just not making very commercially friendly movies. And so it sort of established this base of cool, practical, surreal movies where it's Brain Damage is another really incredible one where it was he had quit cocaine, and this was about going through it and having the little voice of cocaine be oh, come back and use me again and everything. And instead it's just this gory little alien that pokes out the back of his heads and demands feeding. It's just such a fun way of sort of extrapolating more normal things into these weird practical monsters. And he just kills it every time. Frankenhooker is a ton of fun.
I have not. So I love Brain Damage. I love the Basket Case movies. I have not seen Frankenhooker.
Oh, it's fun. It's a good one. I like it a lot. And it's funny listening to him talk about how difficult it was to shoot because it looks great. It's so funny. And it's remarkable to me that none of that tumult behind the camera made its way onto the front of it. So, but I digress. The effects guy who designed Belial in the first place, Kevin Haney, who people might know from his work on Death Becomes Her and the Addams Family movies.
Hell yeah! This
was very early in his career, and he was working as an assistant on Altered States.
Oh, I was gonna say that Belial looks like the Altered States makeup.
That's why. Boom.
Holy shit, it's the same guy. Yeah, but Altered States is a great fucking movie.
It's cool.
It's The Beyond, Altered States, and Basket Case have this great sense. I really grouped those movies in my head together because of the freak makeup I love. Yeah,
the blobbiness and everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was just it's literally the same shop. I was casting Belial on the weekends while I was an assistant on Altered States. But he did have to leave to do another movie, so he replaced himself with John Caglione Jr., who did the makeup for The Dark Knight, and then they reunited on Dick Tracy as well, which has very fun makeup, no matter what you think about the acting or anything.
Oh, no, Dick Tracy is a masterpiece.
I like it too, but everybody talks shit about it, and it's annoying.
It's like Speed Racer. The people who don't like it don't understand what the movie. They're not dancing to the music. Like you gotta give yourself over to these movies to really understand like what they're trying to do. You gotta let the movie lead. You know, you gotta let the movie lead. You gotta meet them halfway. You can't because I did read a few reviews of Basket Case 3. And there aren't many. Right. You know, it's like why are we reviewing this like straight to video freak fest? And I mean that figuratively, not literally. The movie would probably describe itself as a freak fest.
Yeah.
But they not a lot of reviews, not a lot of critical writing on this stuff.
Shocking.
But yeah, but it's like every negative thing someone said about it, I'm like, well, you don't get it. Like it's like that's like going to a punk show and being like too loud. Yes, that is the point. That is the point of it. You are missing the point.
Yeah.
If a band comes out and says we are going to be too loud and then they are not loud enough, that is a meaningful critique. But if a band says we are going to be so loud it hurts your ears and your ears hurt, you cannot go complain about it in the review. That's what you're signing up for. And man, these Basket Case movies, and it escalates at 1, 2, and 3. They more and more fulfill the promise of the joy of the process of making them.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what makes it really interesting to me is that Frank mentioned that this is the one movie of his that he hates.
The third one?
Yes.
He hates the third one?
He hates the third one, he said. He said that it ranges up to am disappointed in at its best. And on its worst day, he hates it. And it was surprising to me, but it does explain the lack of special features for it, I will say.
Yeah, okay. And listen, I'll be honest. I mean, this is a little spoiler alert for talking about the actual movie. But like, there are some scenes, there like the big climactic fight, you can tell.
Yeah.
It's being phoned in through a tin cannon string.
His quote that he said was, "This is the closest to my early 8mm films that I used to do in the backyard, which were self-indulgent, bizarro pieces of non-humor and violence." And I don't agree about the humor because I think this movie is funny.
It's so funny.
Yes, it's hysterical. And the rest of what he said is what I like about it, Frank.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love 2. 2 is fantastic. Obviously, I imprinted on it like a baby goose.
Yeah.
With that scene of the horrible monster coming out of the female lead. I mean, yeah, listen, 2 and 3. But I don't even separate 2 and 3 in my mind, honestly. They're just kind of like one big long movie and completely different from the first one. You could pick up at the second movie and not see the first, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, this is also the nice thing is that they do a nice little bit of recap at the beginning of both of them.
Yes.
So, like, you really get the main part of Basket Case at the beginning of Basket Case 2, and then you get the alien exploding out of her body at the end of...
Well, the recap, cold open recap on the third Basket Case movie starts with the 2 Belial, I don't know, like...
Incredible.
The 2 weird twins fucks, like the sex scene is the first frame you see of Basket Case 3 is the sex scene from the previous movie of the 2 monsters fucking. It rules.
It really is. The idea of... First of all, I mean, the idea of just coming in cold on the third one is insane to me.
Yes.
But also...
But look what you get.
Right, exactly. For someone to be like, oh, 2 blobs just absolutely going to town on each other is the first frame of the movie, you are either in or you're out, baby.
As someone who makes stuff, the joy of these movies is so fucking palpable, especially in the second and third one. Imagine you're the editor. You're Head Lauder, you're the editor. He probably edited some stuff. I don't know. You're sitting there. You're like, all right, so we got to do a recap because these movies are insane and they don't stand on their own at all. So we have to like do a recap. What should we do? Let's play 2 minutes of these blobs fucking first thing you see.
Yeah.
It's not like a quick cut. It's not like just to remind you. It is almost the full scene of them going to town. That is such a funny move. Just its joy is coming out of every cut in this picture. I love it.
Absolutely. So after the first one, like I said, it did start out as a flop and then became secretly successful after they had to replace the edited reels with the gory version after one theater started playing it successfully. But Frank was adamant for years that there wouldn't be any sequels. And he was talking with James Glickenhaus about making a movie called Insect City, which is a great name. he said, I like it, but it just won't sell. And so Frank pitched him a riff on The Brain That Wouldn't Die called Frankenhooker, which, as I said, is a movie that I love. He just riffed it on the spot. And Jim said, great, what else you got? And so he said, I couldn't improv a whole second movie. So I said, well, there's always the sequel to Basket Case. And that's literally how Basket Case 2 came to be. They did it back-to-back with Frankenhooker first. There's a 2-week break between, and he turned out to be very proud of the second one, and it did do pretty well in box office-wise after an extremely public dust-up with the MPAA over Frankenhooker, where the head of the MPAA called their offices and was like, congratulations, you're the first movie to be rated S. And they were like, S for sex? And he said, no, S for shit. And he hung up.
That rules. That's one of the best phone calls I can imagine getting.
They put it on the poster.
Yeah.
They went to the press with it. They said this is insane that the MPAA is letting the content of it get so in the way of rating it appropriately and to be so biased. And it made a huge uproar. And so everybody went to go see Basket Case 2, which came out actually before Frankenhooker, even though they filmed in the opposite order.
Wait, so the thing in the media was about Frankenhooker.
Right.
But Basket Case 2 reaped the rewards at the box office.
Exactly.
That is super weird.
Yeah, because that was getting held up by the ratings board. And so everyone was like, oh, this is the movie that's out by this guy. I'll go check that out. So they wanted to do a third movie immediately after that, which Frank was like, that was our first mistake.
I cannot believe he does not like the... But I get it, though, because for the second one, he made these incredible creature designs for everyone in Granny Ruth. That's your name?
Right.
In Granny Ruth's house. Like, all these just... they are so cool. Mm-hmm. They are... It's like this is the same time that stuff like The Guyver is getting made, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah,
and like it is very anime-like. There's something about it that's very anime-like, very anime brought to life.
Yeah,
ish. I wonder if that had an inspiration on it at all. But anyway, so for the second one, he makes these incredible creatures, and then makes this really charming, funny movie, weird freak movie, and then for the third one, in a wonderful way, they just use the same characters. They just use the same characters. So you don't have this big explosion of we're using new toys in the third one. There are two very cool new things in the third movie. Two great things. But I understand that like the juice of having to show these creatures on camera for the first time must have been extraordinary, and it's hard to match.
Yeah, definitely something special there. But it was also funny. I was watching this documentary about the whole franchise, and they take a little digression.
Wait, what's the name of the documentary?
It's called What's in the Basket.
Fuck, I gotta see this. All right, yeah okay.
They take a little digression during the Basket Case 2 segment to be like, oh yeah, Frank is great and a total sweetie, but he got us all hooked on Jolt Cola to the point where he bought out the local stores. And when they reached out to Jolt, they actually did a tie-in where they sent over a bunch more in exchange for publicity photos with the freaks wearing the shirts and drinking it and everything.
Yes, that rules.
so Basket Case 2 brought to you by Jolt Cola.
Incredible. This is like during the shoot.
Yeah, right. They were just like, he was like, I was running on so little sleep and so much caffeine that I was making everybody drink this Jolt Cola stuff. He also said regarding the freaks, quote, we went out of our way to make sure that they didn't resemble any human deformities, that they were cartoons, which I think to your point about it feeling anime inspired, that lines right up with that. And the makeup designer said Frank stressed to him not to make it too mean-spirited, which I love. I think that it is so out of the realm of like normal everyday issues,
normal everyday deformities.
Yes, right, exactly. that it becomes something comical and cartoonish in a way that doesn't feel like they're laughing at anybody, really. Yeah,
these two movies walk such a strange line in that. I mean, like a lot of I don't know if this is an exploitation movie, but it makes me think of it.
I will say he calls it an exploitation movie.
He does.
Yes.
Like, the message of the movie is very much like The Greatest Showman, any movie about a group of outcasts and weirdos like coming into their own and
we're people too.
Yeah, and being proud. Yeah, sure, everything. Or every Sing movie or every, all that stuff, even A Bug's Life, whatever. But in this one, it is so in your face with the creature designs are so extreme that they are, it is almost like pornographic voyeurism at cartoonish human deformity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is so much of body horror and monster movies, right?
Absolutely.
I don't want to say the movie is trying to have its cake and eat it too, because I don't think that the movie is interested in having cake or eating. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the motives either way are so murky and strange. All we can say for sure is that they made these designs to be wonderful and repulsive to look at, and they just hit the bullseye every time.
Yeah.
But I also feel that the message, I don't know, but there's a sincerity to it that does, I think, come through in the movies that of love and like joy in these characters. I don't know. It is a really odd thing that mixes, irony and exploitation with like sincerity and obvious like love for the things in the movie itself that you just don't get in most works of art, let alone like most, feature films. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. I think that that these movies would not be what they are if Frank didn't have that love. You know, that it has to kind of come through in that unique way. And also he did say that each of them had, quote, freak wranglers to run around and take care of them because they couldn't see or drink or breathe even.
It's amazing how good you can get makeup to look if you don't mind about killing an actor.
And the problem was, he said, that in New York, all of the actors who were in the suits were complaining all the time, and so they were constantly taking breaks. And then when they went down to Atlanta to film 3, everybody was so nice that they were just like passing out in the suits because they were afraid to say anything to him. So he was constantly asking them, like, please say something if you're too tired or too hot.
The Confederacy is a culture of subs.
There you go.
Love getting their ass kicked. Love it. They act like they don't, but they do.
Look, it worked here. It worked in the Civil War. It worked.
They love it. They love to lose.
Kevin Van Hentenryck is back as Dwayne Bradley in what I would consider a greatly improved performance from Basket Case 2.
Sure.
I think as much as I love Basket Case 2, I think that he is maybe like the weak point for me in that movie. And so for him to really hit the ground running for 3 and I think really kill it in this one in a sort of a Looney Tunes kind of way is part of what makes 3 superior to 2 for me.
Yeah. He definitely goes from an F- to an F+. But you do feel like the script is more written for him than the first one for sure.
Yeah. My guy is currently living his best life up in the Catskills Mountains, carving sculptures and signs and doing landscape photography.
Hell yeah.
Good for you, man. He also did say in the documentary that he always wanted to do a 4th one, and that was filmed in 2011. And
what?
And Frank then said he had a great idea for it. So I'm sitting here saying, let's get fucking Basket Case 4 going.
Wait a minute. They shot it?
No, he's saying that he wants to do it, and Frank is saying he has an idea now. That was in 2011.
Oh no, George! I found an interview with him in 2020, like in 2019 or 2020, where he's like, never, but he would let another director that he approved remake it. But yeah, he was adamant that the 4 is not coming, which is too bad.
Damn it! All right. Brutal, but I get it. Look, and we should be grateful that we even got 3 of them.
Oh, I am so thankful for Basket Case 2 and 3. I'm so glad these movies exist.
Yeah. Originally, they wanted Granny Ruth to be extremely old, but they said they literally couldn't get any insurance for the little old lady that they had.
They already cast it and nobody would insure her because she was so old?
Literally, that was the case.
Damn.
So it had to be a really quick turnaround to get Annie Ross, but when they met with her, she does play Granny Ruth, now with Granny in quotes, according to Frank. He was totally blown away. He said it changed his whole perspective on the character, and now it was her, based on the throw mama from the train moment where she says, "And you're a little shit." She's great in these as well. I think that to go toe-to-toe with these the unique individuals is what she calls them, and not only go toe-to-toe with them, but like draw your eye as she's meant to in these moments where she's like doing the monologues and stuff. It's incredible because she's surrounded by some of the best practical makeup around, and she manages to still capture the camera and draw people in. It's a really great performance in both of them.
She's great. She makes the whole thing work. Her character is fantastic. It's so good. No other movie would treat that character that way. She rules.
Yeah.
I love her.
I did also want to shout out that the character of Opal is fun, which not what you'd expect based on her intro and the last movie. Like the equivalent character of Opal was very different. This is a fun performance by Tina Louise Hibbert in her only role.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pretty good for an only role.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's a very funny reveal with her in the third movie. God, you just gotta love this shit like that.
So
It's such a '90s like softcore move. Her character,
yeah,
very funny. Everything in the jail in this movie is just so weird and fun. Of course, and I used to run like a bad movie club that would do like monthly screenings of like bad movies in a private theater that we had secret access to. And we never watched Basket Case 1, 2, or 3 because I had used so many clips from 2 and 3 in the pre-roll for the bad movies that I would put together. And like a lot of times I would use the jailhouse, the sheriff's office, like attack scene from Basket Case 3, which if you just like YouTube, if you put into YouTube, like worst movie scenes or worst horror movie, anything like that, the jail attack from Basket Case 3 will be in that top 10 list, right? You've seen it. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
The Basket Case 3, most people have probably seen that if they have watched any like bad movie clip compilations. You've seen the Basket Case 3 jail attack.
Yeah.
In which she unfortunately meets her end and exits the film.
She sure does. Yeah, a great fun character. Gets to do a little more saucy action than you might expect from a character like this, but it definitely works. It was co-written by Bob Martin, who was the editor of Fangoria magazine from 79 to 86. He also co-wrote Frankenhooker once it needed to actually be on the page and not just be an improvised in-office pitch. And he also wrote the novelization of Brain Damage, so he's done a lot of stuff with Henn and Lauder over the years. And Frank said that he wanted to return to the flavor of Part 1 again, which is to say, very gory. And he assumed, since they went along with putting out Basket Case 2 unrated, that they would do the same for 3. But that wasn't the case, unfortunately, and they were literally asking about making it PG-13 at one point. And so between that and some cash flow issues for the studios crimping their time, as great as the effects like the eye pop are in that jailhouse and everything, Frank describes them as unfinished, which is surprising again, because it still feels very fun and enjoyable to me. But what he describes as the original plans are very different. That scene in particular, he was like, oh, it was supposed to be like a fountain of blood shooting out of their eyes and mouth. And honestly, you have to wonder almost if like that might get in the way a little bit. like I love the eyes and teeth just kind of like emerging from the face.
Yeah, I oh gosh, which room do we? It's like choosing a hotel room in heaven. Put me in any. I don't. It worked. I love the way it is. I love the way it might have been.
Exactly.
More blood, sure. Less blood, don't care.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect.
It totally works. Variety did like the movie and said, we can't wait to see Basket Case 4.
Fuck yeah.
And Frank, that pissed him off. He said, I don't want to make movies just to make it. And he was trying to like change gears into some even stranger stuff. But the indie studios,
what?
Who the fuck even knows? He was talking about like abstract stuff, like real experimental stuff. And the studio who made these types of movies were going bankrupt, so things were becoming more homogenous at the exact wrong time for him. And every pitch met with a rejection that ended with, but why don't you make Basket Case 4 and we'll talk? So he was understandably bitter, and he did retire from film for a while until Bad Biology came out in 2008. And he's done a few documentaries since then, so who knows?
Still around?
He is still around, and yeah, he's holding it down.
I know it sucks. I know it sucks that everybody just wants more of what worked, but also, like, please,
Come on, Frank.
I would love to see, yeah, because now with streaming and everything, you can get really weird again. Mm-hmm. You don't think Shudder would pay for a Basket Case 4? You know?
Oh, I bet that if he came to them and said, "Hey, I'm trying to do this," that they would hook him up.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
he could even go right to the people. He could just do
oh my God,
Kickstarter or something.
Yeah, he could. He could. He maybe could get a couple of million from a Kickstarter, maybe.
Yeah.
If he used like a well, I don't want to get too in the weeds on that, but yeah, he could definitely do a couple million on Kickstarter. But if I'm Shudder, I would buy a Basket Case 4 tomorrow. That would be so much fun.
Here's our plan: Kickstarter fund it, and then Shudder can distribute. Give him a little extra cash on top.
But he's right. Like, we're doing the thing that we hate. Do something else. But I do feel that. Wait, is Annie Ross still around?
That's a great question. I actually.
Oh
don't
no!
know.
Sorry to say, she passed at 89 years old in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm sure we can find someone to fill Granny Ruth's shoes.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Like, I would love to just see another group of like practical creature effects.
Yeah. Imagine
great.
like. So not to jump literally to the very end of this movie, but imagine somewhere else another group of unique individuals sees their television attack and is inspired to be like, yeah, we're coming out of the shadows here too.
Or have like, so at the let's just jump right to the third one. Fuck it. This is premium content.
Yeah.
We're all adults here.
Yeah.
At the end of the third movie, they're like, we're coming out. The world is ours now.
Right.
We cut to it's modern day.
Oh my God.
And that happened. They took over the town.
Yes.
And so there's a town of quote unquote freaks, a whole city of unique individuals. And that's where we start.
Wow. Yes.
Belial is the Joe Biden of Freak City. And that's where we go.
I love it.
That's where we start. It's
I
great.
love it. All right.
1,000
I'm greenlighting it.
Yeah. 1,000 creature designs. It'll be great.
That would be incredible. Frank, if you're listening, if you signed up for the Patreon to hear this, come on, man. We got a great idea for you. All right. So, yeah, let's just jump right into the movie now. Like I said, it starts off with this recap. Dwayne, he is also having sex alongside, or he's trying to, alongside Belial and Eve, although Susan reveals that she has been a unique individual all along, 6 years pregnant with a little half Audrey 2, half chestburster alien who does pop out of her stomach from time to time to say hello. Frank said it was originally meant to be much more, quote, hideously vaginal, but the producer said, please don't do that to me.
You can tell they wanted to. You really can tell that they wanted to.
Dwayne's last vestiges of sanity are demolished, and he pushes her away. She falls out of the window, much like he did in the first one, and then he restitches Belial to his side out of jealousy. You're only half a person. You can't be happy unless I'm happy. You can't be in love unless I'm in love. And that is the end of the first one. Or, I mean, the second one.
The second one, yeah.
Now, months later, Dwayne is in a padded cell. No Belial in sight. He claims to be feeling better. I'm completely sane now. A-okay. No problems here. Debatable, we'll say. But the psychic link between him and Belial is also severely dampened. Dwayne can feel him but not hear him as he moves his head like a satellite dish, which is a fun, like, weird physical performance bit that he did there. And Ruth enters and says, hey, you're going to be an uncle. Wow, a torsoless body giving birth seems less than ideal, though. So they're going to schlep on down to Georgia to visit Uncle Hal, the only doctor that she trusts. I mean, it's a great setup. Makes a lot of sense. Eve exists in the second one as like a relationship for Belial. The next logical step is, what do you do? Like, if they're having a baby, if this, then what else is true? It would be a complicated birth. Boom. Let's go meet the doctor. Dwayne tries to apologize to Belial, but he's not coming out of the basket, and he doesn't want to hear it, and so onto the bus they all head. All head, just like Belial.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. This is what you get, patrons. All head. So, now, did you read anything about, like, is the movie... Do they change locations because they got, like, a deal in Georgia?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that Georgia does a lot of tax write-off stuff. I'm sure that they had probably just signed that into law for filming down there.
Yeah, and immediately,
Yeah.
the bus of freaks literally pulls up. I love the change of venue. Like, these movies are like TV shows. I want to see more episodes of this TV show. And the gang goes to Georgia and has some babies. It's fun.
Exactly. On the bus, we get a nice check-in with all of the unique individuals who comprise the family since Dwayne has been locked up. Someone who's like all brain with no eyes and is leaking semen, maybe?
Wait, this is the nose guy?
No, there's someone like the brain. The person who's just like all brain also has like white ooze coming off of them.
Rules. What a good movie.
Moonman Fernando, which is one of my favorite designs.
Yes, Moonman Fernando rules. It looks like Mac Tonight.
Yeah, he really does. You get Sidney, the Tooth Man, Elmo, who has a dozen noses on his face. The lady with the tall head is also very funny to me, but It doesn't get better than the line, "Oh, Cedric, I see you brought your lettuce."
It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And then they have a musical number on the bus.
Incredible. They really do. I mean, everyone singing along is so funny. Air saxophone to the scatting is a pro move.
They have a guy, maybe it's Elmo, playing the trumpet, like playing an actual trumpet with like a Louis Armstrong handkerchief.
That's right. And when they went looking for the song rights, it wasn't some like company. They were literally owned by the guy who originally recorded the song. And when he found out that Annie Ross was going to be the one singing it, he gave them the rights for $1.
Yeah, because she came from Broadway, right?
Yeah, she was a longtime singer. So
she was also very vital in another childhood horror formulative moment in Superman 2. She is one of the bad guys in one of the Richard Donner Superman movies. And she's the lady that gets turned into the robot by the supercomputer. Oh, and I think I know I've seen online a lot of people talk about this. The scene where she is turned into a robot by the computer is terrifying.
Wow. It's
really genuinely unnerving. And it really messed with me when I was a kid. I could barely watch it.
That sounds intense. I actually haven't seen that one. So
that scene I think has fucked up a lot of kids. Well, not again. I'm happy. I'm doing fine. I love this shit. So I don't know, fucked up, enriched, challenged,
imprints upon.
Yes, imprints upon. Yeah, God, boy. This show I really get into like a lot of early childhood formulative experiences that have sort of influenced me, and then I'm looking at all the stuff I make today, and it's like. Huh.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Just keep repeating the same shit over and over again. That scared the hell out of me when I was 8. But yeah, she was the bad one with Richard Pryor. She was in the same Superman with Richard Pryor,
right.
And gets turned into a robot. You got to include the link for the robot transformation
scene.
That's wild stuff.
I'll put it in the show notes. Down in Georgia, Sheriff Andrews stops by Hal's to drop off some gizmo he found for little Hal, and is greeted by both Hal himself, who is a kindly old man, and a coffee robot, which absolutely rocks. I love a needlessly complicated automaton. The cow spitting the milk absolutely cracks me up. Just great stuff.
Yep. When a movie has a character that builds contraptions, it is a good movie. There is no movie aside from The Book of Henry that has a character who builds crazy contraptions that is not a good movie.
Boom. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang rules.
Yes, I agree. So Little Hal is the one who invented this, and we get a look at a portrait of Little Hal as a baby with 6 arms. When the sheriff leaves, we get a sinister being watched vibe, and Little Hal is up there on the roof porch, silent, and he gives a slow wave back, and you see some like weird marks all over his arm and neck. Like, it's still kind of ambiguous as to what's up with him. Although you saw the picture, so I guess it's weird that they're like just kind of like playing around like, oh, you don't know what's up with him, but we just saw a picture of him all fucked up.
The reveal later of Little Hal is great.
It is. It really is. Oh my God. Like he literally looks like in the Thing when the dog turns into the tree, basically. Like the dog erupts in the kennel.
I have very strong feelings about Little Hal, but we'll talk about them later.
Okay. So on the bus, the performance ends. They screech to a halt. The way people walking are acting, I'm not sure he told them it was going to happen. The bus line also says, "No one you know," which is funny. And in the little pharmacy, Ruth stocks up on some toys, a dog bone, and a buttload of condoms, which she asks, do any of these come in extra large? Classic shock humor of a little old lady buying condoms.
What is she buying the condoms for?
She doesn't want any more little Belials.
I guess not. The condoms are never referenced again, and we don't. There's no more fucking in this movie. It's a fun, like, fine. It's fine, but
I think it's to wrap Belial in his entirety.
I don't know.
You just like wrap it around him like a balaclava.
Yeah, if that's the joke, that's very funny. Doesn't quite come across. I don't know.
Look, this is my own extrapolation, I'll say. Yeah, you're right. They never really discuss it again.
Yeah, it doesn't come back up, which is too bad because she's writing a check there with that scene. And then...
The sheriff does storm in. Who the hell belongs to that bus out there? Which is a funny, weird spoonerism. Yeah. But Ruth sweet talks him. Dwayne is out there being like, I had a lot of time to think in that cell, and it all boils down to my brother being jealous of me, as he looks crazy and is literally in a straitjacket. Very funny moment for him. And he gets stuck climbing out the window of the bus, and he freezes up at seeing the sheriff's daughter, because he's like, whoa, a babe! And his new plan is to get himself arrested, so that Belial will be arrested too, and they'll be together again. Seems foolproof.
It's very good.
He has to duck back in when Ruth and the sheriff roll up, though. Okay, bye. Door slam. Peel out. They really take off in a hurry. Everyone is stoked to get to Hal's, especially since Eve's water has just broken. And we get this big reveal here that Ruth is Little Hal's mother. Holy shit.
It's great.
Exciting reunion as we see Little Hal is in fact enormous. And she tells Dwayne she didn't always appreciate the beauty of unique individuals and was lucky enough to have Hal adopt her child. Little Hal is enormous. You still only don't get even a great look at him yet even, but you just see like in the 1-2 shots, the perspective is like way up here. I'm doing, of course, physical movement for all the listeners.
And it's great.
Yeah. It is an angle that says he is enormous, basically. And it's a fun little thing where you're like, oh, I'm trying to see this guy. I want to see what's up with him. And they tease it out. They tease it out in a very fun way. Now, she removes Dwayne's straitjacket. And she says, I know you won't do anything to make me regret this. And he's just standing there like a doofus, which is really funny. And then once she's out of sight, he immediately jumps out of the window. Also great. Like I said, he's a lot more like Looney Tunes in this movie, which I think works for the character, especially 100%. To match what's happening in the environment around him. And what makes it funny is that everybody, all of the people in the makeup, they all play it so straight. They all play it very grounded, and they act like they are real people who happen to look this way. And so for that to be the case for them, and then for Dwayne, the ostensibly normal one, to be acting like he's a cartoon, I think is such a great dynamic for this movie.
Yep.
They can't open Eve up because they're not sure how she's put together, so they're committing to the difficult natural birth. I mean, again, it's like, well, that, I guess, makes sense to me. Like, it's a good reason why they have to do this scene this way.
Yeah, the relationship between Granny Ruth and Hal, the doctor, in this scene, it really struck me as a moment where there's a thing that you can do with, like, freakish villains, right? Which is you have them talk very frankly and honestly about horrible things, and that demonstrates their comfort with terror, and that or like their comfort with the strange, and that is supposed to unnerve us watching them be calm about something that we find repulsive. But in these movies, it's different. It's almost like a Necker cube where it's the same drawing, but the perspective is shifted a little bit. Where Granny Ruth, and in this scene, the doctor does the actor matches the film perfectly matches these characters' tones, where they are talking about something that is horrific. Well, not could be considered psychologically horrific because it's dramatic disfigurement and body horror stuff, and they're talking about it in very frank, open, honest ways. But instead of making us feel unnerved, I felt like supremely endeared to them and the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting trick to play. Yeah, it's odd. These movies just have these two. Maybe that's what it is. It's like a lot of movies have like bad, quote unquote, bad special effects or like, over the top, corny, whatever, like camp. We all love camp. But there's something about the way these movies do that one particular trick that sets them apart from even other films in the sort of B-movie horror comedy genre.
Yeah.
And the birthing scene is one of them. And now the birthing scene is my favorite scene in the movie because while you have the 101 Dalmatians reveal that she's just full of little Belials, right? So while this is going on, and the camera work is also fantastic, the Kubrick-esque center frame shot of Eve with the babies being lifted in front of her in the foreground, a wonderful shot. While this is going on, you have my favorite character in the series, Little Hal, filming it with a VHS camera, and I would love to know the history of this shot, of the shots of Little Hal reacting to the birth with the VHS camera, because every time something happens in the birth, it cuts to Little Hal and he says the funniest shit. He is doing his best Charles Nelson Riley impression of I'll have what she's having, or maybe I won't. Check, please. And it is so fucking funny. And for the last, this is, I really want to know how this was recorded, because I would love to know if his reaction lines were written or if they just said, because the actor's name is Jim O'Doherty. Right. If they just said, Jim, just improvise, pretend you're seeing something crazy and go nuts. Because the last time they cut to him, they just leave the camera running and he just says 8 of these reaction lines back to back. And I was standing out of my seat cheering. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
So fun pop-up video trivia. This actor who's playing Little Hal is Jim O'Doherty, who would later go on to be the executive producer and showrunner of Third Rock from the Sun. Isn't that wild?
That rules so hard.
Because I loved that scene so much. I went and I was like, this guy, what is this guy's story? I got to find out more about him. And he's a super successful TV producer who was also aged into this super jacked silver fox. Jim O'Doherty, call us.
Jim, talk to us, babe.
Jim, it's Jim.
Excuse me, Jim. Oh God, I've tanked our chances.
Jim, that's George. He can be a little crazy, but you can message it to DM me privately. That's fine too.
There you go. I've blown my shot, but Taylor, you're still in the mix here.
Still in the mix.
Yeah. So basically, the way that it worked is I mentioned that his original plans were for this to be much more gory and over the top in general, and so that included the birth scene, which was supposed to be an orgy of goo and blood and all kinds of stuff. And they took out the whole birth scene, which was going to be 11 pages.
What?
Yeah. And so he's like, fuck, we have to write on the fly now. They wound up with this ticker tape of babies getting pulled out of Eve, which is great.
Yeah.
And Jim wrote a poem. He wrote it in advance to react to the babies with, but he was nervous and he was sweating off the makeup and everything, and he fucked up the first line. And so now Frank is like, oh great, it'll never rhyme now, but I guess we'll just see how it goes. So he doesn't yell cut, and now Jim is panicking even harder because he has to go off the cuff with the rhyme, and that's what you see in the movie.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Can we play the audio of some of his reaction here?
I'll throw it in. Yeah.
If folks just listening and haven't heard the movie, this is just one of these shots when an actor's improvising that is the funniest, most charming thing I've seen in a long time.
It's great. And It's so funny because Frank was talking about it in that documentary, and he talks about, like, at one point he was just looking at the director of photography, Bob Peony, and that's why he says, name one Bob.
Incredible. Like, everything good about these movies is in that shot, is in that scene. It's so much fun. This is just like, okay, so I recently watched Something in the Soil, the new, like, Benson and Moorhead. Wait, hold on.
Something in the Dirt.
Benson and Moorhead, that's a kind of cigarette, right?
Benson and Moorhead, that's right.
Benson and Moorhead, that's the directors?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize till I was watching it, but yeah, it's another pandemic project.
Sure is.
Yeah, where they just shot it all themselves in an apartment during the pandemic. You seen it, I take it?
Yes,
Yeah. Big time thumbs down from me.
Wow.
Those guys have got to start casting other people to play in the movies. Anyway, at the end of Something in the Dirt, it says this film is dedicated to making movies with your friends, which is very, like, it kind of charmed me again. Like, it's pretty cute, it's fun, but fuck that shit. This is making a movie with your friends. Like, this to me, the birth scene feels like I'm watching, like, classic Muppets, or you know, like going back in time and seeing, like, the Judd Apatow comedies again, where, you know, it's just like some friends who are improvising a lot together. That's just so joyful and fun.
Yeah.
And it's just everything good about making up dumb shit with your friends.
Yeah.
Like that vibe, these two movies captured that vibe so palpably and wonderfully. They shine like treasures. I love them. And not like a lot of movies get called camp because they're over the top in some aesthetic way. But what to me is good about camp, what people who want to make camp are trying to get, is this feeling of like, it's like when you're hanging out with a group of people, when you're at a bar or at someone's house, and like you're just going off on like someone's riffing, someone's doing a bit, and everyone's chiming in, and everyone's just laughing. It just escalates, and everyone's laughing harder and harder and harder, and you just like lose yourself.
Yeah.
In this sort of group mind, and into this sort of blissful place of just a group of people full of joy and making each other laugh. You can feel it through the chemicals on the film in these movies. And this scene to me is the bullseye of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that that's the kind of thing that definitely gets improved by working with a lot of similar collaborators, you know, a troupe of people like, you know, John Waters. That's exactly it, is that like it does feel like it's people like busting on each other because they're friends and because they like each other and know where everybody's boundaries are or lack thereof or whatever. And that feeling of just fucking around and putting it on camera, I think is what a lot of people are striving to get. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then to combine that with all the incredible creature design and stuff, and like, you know, bringing in a ringer, like Annie Ross, that all just like adds to it in these awesome ways. Jim O'Doherty too, so funny.
Really funny. Absolutely. Not just in that scene, but just in general. Like when he's talking through the coffee machine is funny.
Yeah.
He's like, he's good.
He's good.
The medical environment did trigger Belial's memory of the traumatic separation from Dwayne, and he attacks Hal, which the tall-headed lady has to trank him, and the funny line of, "Good God, Belial, that was not a constructive way to express your feelings."
Yeah, there's lots of lines like that they give to Granny Ruth because he's kind of like making fun of like this language which was developing at the time, right? Because the human potential movement had just been like 10 or 20 years earlier. So like this was still filtering into the world. So to have that language in this environment must have felt like a sort of comedic note to hit. But now it feels, you know, now when that language has become the default way most people,
Right.
of like on this side of the American cultural divide talk to each other all the time.
Yeah.
It just feels very natural.
Yeah, and he does get locked up downstairs in his basket. Hal was in rough shape, so Ruth was the one who had to guide her through this pregnancy or through this birth as they pulled him out like a barrel of monkeys. Meanwhile, Dwayne is out there. He finds the sheriff's daughter. Another amazing line when he says, "I forgot your name, but I'm over here."
I love it. I forgot your name, but I'm over here.
It's just like, that felt real. That felt like
Yeah, totally. That's a very funny joke.
Yeah. He collapses weeping about wanting his brother back, but being scared to tell her, and she says, I could only love someone who is honest, Dwayne. And while this is all happening, Belial is dreaming of being recited poetry by two topless women on a circular gold bed. And their licking of his fingers is so funny and disgusting.
I can't believe he doesn't like this movie.
I know.
I can't believe with that scene. Come on.
Belial is roused from his sleep. Hey, dude, you're a dad. Wow. Uncle Dwayne, however, is being thrown into a cell while Opal tells them he was staying at Dr. Hal's. He's pissed, but, quote, Dwayne, it's not my fault you're a major criminal. There's $1 million reward for the twins, so the two other cops there leave Opal in charge while they go to the doctors to get Belial. There's a party going on, and the new lady with the hammerhead eyes on a giraffe neck smoking a cigar, that's inspired design, if I say so myself. And they can't find Dwayne, and Belial is acting out. He ate all the pasta. Amazing line when Ruth checks in on Hal and the nurse there says he's doing pretty good considering most of his face is off. They're really just like hitting you quick with really, really great jokes. For him to say this is non-humor, come on, Frank.
His face is off.
His face is off.
I want to make a movie. God damn it. I just want to make movies.
It's remarkable. It's really, the fact that that's in there, you're just like, wow, I could do it. I could really do it.
Doing pretty good considering his face is off. It's great. I forgot your name, but I'm over here. Oh, God. I love it when you can imagine someone writing the script and laughing at themselves. That's
absolutely
good. That's good movies.
If you're not making yourself laugh, then what the fuck should anyone else laugh at it for? Yeah, so the cops discover the party. One freaks out, but the other keeps him on task. They climb in a window, and they stumble into a bassinet full of, quote, a whole shitload of baby Belials. I gotta say, now that they're all cleaned up, they're pretty cute, in my opinion. Cute. A regular Belial, too big. But I would hang out with a little baby Belial. They say his puppies, we can use them for bait. But Eve is there, and the cops shoot her with a shotgun. They make a break for it with the babies, and the shot of the messy Eve is really wild. It's gross. Belial is not thrilled, obviously, and Dwayne feels his pain in this moment. But he's quickly distracted by Opal, who is turned on by his being an outlaw, and it turns out she's a dominatrix, and she goes into his cage to punish him with smooches, but is freaked out by his side. And they're interrupted by her father, who's like, God damn it, again?
You know, this movie is really sort of about generational trauma, because the daughter of the sheriff has a prisoner fetish. And I think that really says it all.
I think you're absolutely right. The other cops arrive. They tell the sheriff who agrees to go look. Amazing alliteration line here. You boys have been through a lot tonight. Bailey, you book the Bradley boy. Baxter, take the bassinet of baby Belials and back and get Brody to come by. Where's Brennan and Ben? Bowling.
One of the great one shots of cinema history is the close up on the sheriff's face.
I love it. I really love it.
During that scene. It's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
Bowling.
The sheriff interrupts the morning ceremony because he thinks that they've attacked Hal, which, to be fair, they have.
Yeah.
Little Hal diffuses tensions a bit, and he says, okay, you can come see me as proof that we're okay, but it's in his full glory. Apparently, he grew extra arms in between the time of the portrait and present day, which, hell yeah, that's fun. And he looks incredible. He's this towering Goliath of a man, several arms. He's like got mottled blue, purple skin markings all over him. Like I said, he looks like in The Thing when the dog erupts into a fountain in the kennel.
Yeah, I feel like this is supposed to be like a reveal of little Hal is the biggest freak of all. But this point in the movie, I've been so charmed by Jim O'Doherty that I don't care. You know, I love Lil Hal so much. I'm just like, oh, hey, Lil Hal's here. Yay!
Again, yay.
Good.
Yeah. He's back.
And it's supposed to be like, there's this like big like musical note as we see his full quote unquote monstrous body. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh,
yay,
there
Lil
he
Hal.
is. At the jail, Opal decides she wants to keep one of the baby Belials. She shows it to Dwayne, and he says, "That's not a pet, damn it. That's my nephew." The one cop is starting to worry, what if there's a variety of them, and they're bigger and meaner and planning a jailbreak in which they'll chew right through us? "Why, I dare him to try," scoffs the other. I love to tempt fate personally, so I can relate to this guy.
Yeah. I'm always inviting dramatic irony into my life. Yeah. And it will never go badly, I don't think.
No, it couldn't. It couldn't possibly. It's not okay. It's not, they say. And there's a knock at the door, and there's just Belial's basket, which of course gets brought in, and he just jumps out.
And this is the famous scene from Basket Case 3, which is really a shame, because the birth scene should be... But I also understand why the internet and why like bad movie culture has adopted the following scene as like one of the great examples.
Yeah.
But also...
Come on.
It's great. Like, God, we could talk forever about this. I mean, this is the Showgirls problem of, is a movie bad when it's supposed to be bad? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know the answer. It's not a yes or no thing. But I will say that I used to watch the jail scene of Basket Case 3 thinking, wow, isn't it funny how bad this is? And upon a full critical evaluation and rewatch, I think it is better than any Marvel film and should be studied and replicated as often as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. He turns him into basically like a They Live ghoul. Mm-hmm. This is how he turns out looking. And it's so fun. It's like we've said the whole time. It's joyous. It's raucous. There is a fucking lump flying around, mutilating these cops, having a grand old time.
And what a good job the cops do when they're being attacked. Because, one of the hardest things you could do to an actor is like, say, we're going to put this motionless puppet on you. We're not going to be moving it. You've got to act like he's attacking you. Mm-hmm. And all the actors, they knock it out of the park. Everybody that has a... my favorite example of this is a scene in, I think it's the Chevy Chase Invisible Man movie.
Oh,
you seen
Memoirs?
This?
I haven't seen it.
Yes, Memoirs of the Invisible Man.
But I know of it.
Where someone has to act like the Invisible Man is putting a gun to their head, but obviously the gun has just been glued to their temple. And they have to walk like they're being sort of like led by the gun. And it's a pretty amazing, It's a pretty amazing bit of physical work. There's a lot of that going on in this scene, and it's stellar.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one guy who's getting like his palate chewed off is like, really? You are like, I believe that this guy is ripping at your face right now. And then ultimately his whole head comes off. So there you go.
Oh, so good.
The one who was scared fumbles with a shotgun, and Opal screams and throws the baby in the air, which lands with a comical thud. And she gets shot in the chest as a result of the scuffle between Belial and Shotgun Cop, and she falls on top of the baby, squishing it like a gusher. It's that's one of the great blood shots in this movie.
Yes. The gusher baby getting set on is a highlight for sure.
Yeah. Belial spins the final cop's head 180 degrees.
Oh,
classic.
One of my favorite on-screen deaths.
It's great. It's really great. And Dwayne tries to free the babies, but the sheriff interrupts with a shotgun blast. The brothers flee, and Sheriff Andrew mourns his daughter. That's on his reel for sure. He is going for that grief there.
Yeah.
Belial got tagged, so Dwayne brings him back to Little Hal, who makes him a robot suit so that they can go get revenge on the two deputies still alive, just like the good old days for them. It is also funny to me how long the deputy keeps his eyes shut while he says like 6 different cop sex entendres and then goes to be surprised by the robot.
It's great.
They couldn't decide on one joke. They said, fuck it. They all go in.
And so here we have the reveal of why Little Hal the character exists, because you need someone to make machines, because they got an idea to put Belial in a Aliens Ripley-esque exoskeleton. Also, when you go to look at this movie on Wikipedia, one of the only further reading line is list of movies with powered exoskeletons.
That's
which
incredible.
is the only further reading you need to do
all
about
you need,
this
baby.
movie. A list of other movies with powered exoskeletons. So they clearly had an idea. Well, how's he going to get the exoskeleton? Okay, what if there's a genius tinkerer? Okay, so why would there be a genius tinkerer down there? Oh, he's another unique individual. Oh, well, how is he connected to the doctor? Oh, he's the daughter of, here we go. And then, which is great because we get another scene with Little Hal, because whenever Little Hal's not on screen, I'm saying, where's Little Hal?
As all characters should be. It is great. I look, if you can't be a little indulgent on Basket Case 3, where can you be? You know?
I don't think it's indulgent at all. I think it was totally necessary.
Oh, I mean the 6 different cop sex entendres.
Oh,
where
yeah,
he's
of
laying
course, of
there
course.
with his eyes shut for full minute and a half.
Oh, can I tell you my other favorite indulgence in this, other than the personality music number on the bus,
sure.
which is just fuck it, let's just spend some money. The fact that, and this is, I guess, and this is true in at least 2 and 3. I don't remember if it's true in 1. Anytime Belial attacks someone's face, when he detaches from them, they have done a full face makeup work on the victim to like show it's twisted. Completely unnecessary. Mm-hmm. That is hours in a makeup chair for no reason, but they do it every time, and it is, I love it.
Yeah, you gotta for something like that. The other deputy stumbles out of bread in his leopard print thong, sings in the bathroom, and then
for a solid minute and a half. He sings in the bathroom to himself, doing an Elvis impression. I'm not kidding. I think maybe actual number, maybe 40 or 45 seconds, which in movie terms is very fucking long.
It's a lot. It kind of reminded me of the opening of Stone Cold, that one movie with like Brian Bosworth.
I have not seen Stone Cold.
Oh my God, you must. It is.
Writing it down.
It's not a horror movie, but it is a delightful B movie. Definitely check that out. And this guy gets killed while Dwayne is eating the man's cornflakes, which is cold as hell, Dwayne.
And there's another great Looney Tunes psych gag in that scene as well, with the guy getting killed in the background from the body off camera.
Yeah, very, very fun. The funeral for Eve happens, and Ruth says we got to break out those babies, and also we're going to reveal ourselves because this is our world. And they go to the police station. They see the aftermath, including a baby Belial with Opal's ass print still in it, which Frank still has the prop of, which made me laugh.
Oh, I love that.
And they agree to trade Belial for the babies, and then time for lunch, baby. Mighty Casey's burger joint erupts in chaos. Definitely not Wendy's. Definitely not born of needing to hit 90 minutes.
Yeah, this scene should not exist, but it is a fucking delight. It made me think of another great horrible movie scene shot in a McDonald's from Mac and Me.
Yes. Oh my God.
The teddy bear birthday party dance scene from Mac and Me in a McDonald's.
They again, way longer than it should be, perhaps.
Unbelievable. Now, see, Mac and Me is an example of a truly bad. No one was having a lot of fun making Mac and Me,
right?
But that's a bad movie. But it doesn't also does not seem like a lot of fun.
No, I agree. And it also kind of reminded me of Toxic Avenger.
Yes,
there's a great restaurant scene in there as well. It's a scene that's kind of just here for comedy, which I have to respect. Yeah, I laughed a lot at it. Beverly Bonner, who played Casey in the original, is here as the mighty Casey herself. So she has since the first movie become manager and owner of a burger joint. So there you go. At the exchange, Belial approaches in his Krang suit, his Ripley exo loader. It's so funny with the fake head on top and some fuzzy dice.
Yeah.
And he kind of like sneaks up on the sheriff somehow.
Yeah. Okay, so this scene is the only bad scene in either Basket Case 2 or 3. So I don't know what happened here. Maybe they spent too much money on the McDonald's scene, or the musical bus number, or maybe the whatever rig they had for the mechanical suit just was too expensive to operate. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they shot this in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be the big like Beast and Gaston on top of the roof of the mansion, right?
Sure.
Very much the aliens, fight.
Castle freak.
This is definitely like an aliens bit. It's bad. George, it's bad.
It's not great, especially with the promise that it sets up.
Yeah, that's the thing with the promise. It starts off great. There's a couple of swipes. The sheriff shoots the shotgun at Belial, and Belial has time to pull a lever, and it shuts a metal gate in front, and it opens up. Now, see, that's good structural storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
The heroes have learned from their trials. They will not be defeated by the same slings and arrows this time. And then what we get is like a couple of minutes of over-the-shoulder shot of the sheriff just like limply hitting at the mech suit. It's very bad.
Great. It's not great.
Yeah.
It looks like the sheriff is done for, but he tips over the mech suit. Belial gets trapped in there, and when the sheriff goes in for the kill, he gets knocked back and into the bassinet of baby Belials who swarm and devour him. At least that's fun for me. I like seeing him covered in them.
Yeah, the movie's only really bad for a couple of, like a minute, you know, of like the chunk, the meat of that fight, the final fight is like,
yeah,
we couldn't do a little bit better than this. But no, then he falls in the bassinet, and baby, I love watching those little babies eat him.
Hell yeah. The unique individuals invade a broadcast of Ronaldo. Today's episode, Freaks and the Women Who Love Them. I'm curious, to me, the impression that I got was it's supposed to be that those are fake unique individuals who are sitting there on the couch.
Or they're just, you know, Uncle Tom, like assimilators,
true that.
Bootlickers. But I love this final scene because it is it maybe this final scene really does like cement the angle that he's going for with the message of, like, I saw a review that called it a message of tolerance. I don't think that's exactly right, because tolerance is like a very soft, sort of like this soft neoliberal concept that I think the Ronaldo character, you know, who's like a Phil Donahue or Geraldo, obviously,
right,
exploitation talk show. I think that's tolerance is sort of what that guy would say we need, right?
Right, instead of equity.
Yeah, the Phil Donahue tolerance, like a sort of dumbass bullshit thing. So the movie here is setting itself apart from other forms of exploitation, of like voyeurism towards the abject. Right? So I think that what the movie is essentially saying is that, like, yeah, we're doing the same thing that Ronaldo, like, we're doing the same thing as they're doing, but at least we're fun. and I think that Head and Lauder probably felt this way, that, like, at least our way of doing it, the freaks are in charge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not being ponied about by some sort of greatest showman figure. Like, we are... Of course, the catch there is that, like, Granny Ruth does look normal. So I don't know, you know, it's not clear cut, but but rather, you know, I hate to analyze things based on like the literal shit like that. If you just look at the vibes, the difference is very clear.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one is saying that these freaks are only valuable because normal, quote unquote, normal people like them.
Right.
Whereas the unique individuals that come in and storm at Granny Ruth's army, they don't need to be loved to, you know, force their normalization into the collective. So the vibe is very much like pirates versus the bourgeois.
I totally agree. I think that it, even in just the way that it's like so patronizing to be like, can you believe that these women love these freaks? Like,
yeah,
that's so fucked up in its own unique way. That is so fucked up. And for them to say, we are demanding equity. This is our world now. Yeah. You better get out of the way if you don't like it. I mean, it's not up to the normal, quote unquote, normal people to determine whether they are acceptable or not. You know, it's funny in the I think it's in the second one where they like meet with the like noir detective and they have the vote with all the like the unique individuals in the bar, and they're like, oh, are we the normal ones? Because in this environment, we're the freaks. Like,
this is obvious. This is about a lot of things, but like the bar scene in the second basket case really solidifies that this is about queer people. Mm-hmm. That like the fact that scene was set in a bar full of the, you know, I think makes it very, very clear what this is about.
Yeah.
And it rules.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
It rules. It's essentially like, you know, dykes on bikes running their motorcycles in over the throats of the people and the set of like, fuck, what was the name of the sitcom?
Will and Grace?
Thank you. The set of Will and Grace. Edit that together so I sound like I'm not stupid. Over the set of Will and Grace, you know, yeah. This, which I don't know, it's a good vibe. I like it.
I absolutely agree. I love this smile, have a nice day at the end of their threat to say like, look, we won't fuck with you if you don't fuck with us, but we're not afraid to break open your TV station and bite off your face with Belial.
and you think, you know, like it's a very good decision to end with her, like the major talent ringer they brought in, instead of like Belial, who's this, you know, uncanny valley wart of a character. But credits roll.
Credits tag.
Then we have the best post-credit sequence in cinema.
He's smoking his post-coital bliss with the two topless babes from before. Also, personality played again over the credits, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just a great outro. We get one last look at Belial in his glory, and boom, that's Basket Case 3, folks. A great movie.
If you haven't watched it, watch Basket Case 2 and 3 together. It's worth it. It's great.
Absolutely. And now, Taylor, we've come to the part of the episode where we don't necessarily have to say that this is the best horror movie ever made, but we will sum up why this is an interesting movie, worthy of discussion and a spotlight episode here on the Best Little Horror House in Philly. And I'm going to let you start.
Well, I think it goes back to what I like, that scene with Jim O'Doherty as Little Hal. The way that scene is done, and the vibe it puts out. Like I said, there's so many movies that are made by a bunch of weirdos, scraping together some money and trying to make their weird movie. And a lot of it is in sci-fi and horror. God knows, I'm sure you've talked about dozens of movies exactly like this for your show. But for my money, Basket Case 2 and 3 are the ultimate example of that kind of filmmaking, where the joy and fun and love just really radiates through the whole thing. And it produces this like a chord of different notes or textures that I've never really experienced in another movie. There's something about it.
Yeah. To me, this is a really interesting movie because I really love not only Frank Henenlotter's work writ large, but the Basket Case series in particular is something so interesting to me because of the evolution that it takes. When he talks in the documentary about how he didn't want to just do Basket Case 1 again for Basket Case 2. He had done Skid Row. Mm-hmm. And so what else, what could he do that was different? Sure, he could do On the Run, but instead what he wanted to do was a nice mansion, a community of freaks. Like, it's such a dynamic evolution of a series. And then to kind of find a middle ground, I think, on 3 that has elements of 1, because even though it was sort of neutered a little bit in terms of the effects, I think that the heart and soul of Basket Case 1 is still very much in there. And the joyous body horror stuff that's happening in 2, it just comes together into such a really great, unique package. I love the special effects in this. I love just having a ton of makeup piled on people. I'm sorry if they were uncomfortable, but their loss is our gain because it looks so fucking incredible. It just looks amazing.
Prosthetics the size of a doghouse on a human head. I will never forget the first time I saw a clip with all the character designs. Mm-hmm. It was the clip from Basket Case 2 where they just sort of silently show up in the reporter's house to threaten and kill her. You only get to see that thing. It's a moment. Seeing all these character designs for the first time, you never forget it. It's an experience.
Absolutely. And like I said, I also think that the character of Dwayne, the performance is greatly improved, in my opinion, from 2 to 3. So that's another great addition because I think that he's getting to do some fun Looney Tunes stuff. It works. Annie Ross is killing it in the sort of leader of this group and main performance almost. She sort of usurps Dwayne there a little bit in a way that I think is to the movie's benefit. Like she's absolutely killing it, and it's no wonder that she comes back for 3. It's just a great damn movie, and I think also if people are not familiar with Frank Henenlotter in general, that this franchise would be a great introduction to this style of filmmaking. These sort of not even Grindhouse really, because the first one played in Grindhouse places, but this played in regular theaters. But yeah, just the sort of B movies. It's so much fun. Watch it, enjoy the special effects, and you'll have a damn hoot. That's it. What more do you need to say?
Case closed.
Case closed. Taylor, I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show.
I love it, George.
Please tell the people where they can find you, any projects you want to plug, all that jazz.
You can find me. I'm Taylor.biz on Humpler, Thwunkit, To Time, Timmy, Page.net, on Twitter.com. All the social media apps, I'm Taylor.biz. And also, I run Fortunate Horse. We make the podcasts Rude Tales of Magic, Oh These Those Stars of Space, and of course, Fun City. So please check out those shows.
Hell yeah, definitely check them out. Many of the Fortunate Horse cast members have appeared on the Best Little Horror House in Philly. Very
Tim Platt.
graciously. Tim Platt, yes.
Was Branson on?
Branson was.
Yet?
He actually did 2 episodes. He did a bonus as well.
What was his bonus episode?
So
we don't talk.
his bonus episode, we talked about the 13 best animated horror shorts from 1929 to 1953.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah,
okay. Well,
that was a fun one.
I know I didn't top that, but I'm glad I got to participate.
It was a really good one. And we also talked about Larry Cohen's Cue the Winged Serpent on the main feed. So there you go. A perfect tie-in.
Have you done the ooze on the main feed yet?
No, we have not.
You shouldn't. It's not. You should not.
We'll just get you like a residency where every couple months you can come back. We'll talk about the ooze or something. All right, great.
Absolutely fine with me.
So definitely check out not only the Fortunate Horse podcast, but also check out the Fortunate Horse episodes of the Horror House, because they are all very fun. And everything else you're probably already doing because you're a patron. So I mean, it would be silly to assume that you weren't already at least following me somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good night, everybody.